We have a good time.
That's awesome. That's super awesome. I just turned on the record, um,
Okay.
just because if I don't do that, Amy yells at me, which is probably the right thing to do, you know. And then do we do notes? No. Okay. Give it another minute or two, see if we get a couple more joiners. There we go. See that? Hi, Michael. Hi, Carla.
Carla's not really here.
Oh, is this a secret, Carla?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey Brenda, this is totally off the subject, but I heard you met my wife the other day.
Um, Hang on, I've started working and I've lost my screen. 1 second. There we go.
Carla, are you wearing a
Zoom.
crown?
Brenda is wearing a
Brenda,
crown.
crown. That's awesome. I think that's great.
It is it's Spirit Week here at the daycare,
Hmm.
and I have it's fairy princess or fairy storybook character, fairy character, Disney character, something like that. And I'm wearing my super fancy sparkly stick slippers, and it this is my getting dressed for the ball look.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
And yes, Michael, I did meet your wife, and I had a lovely time meeting her.
She said
Yeah.
she really enjoyed it too.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to hearing from her because she's going to get me some information so I can make some telephone calls. But I
Okay.
hadn't heard from her, so I
I'll
thought
let
I'd reach out to her when I get a minute.
Super cool.
It's snack time. I need to refresh my coffee probably and get a little heat up on it.
Well, we're going to get started, if that's all
Okay.
right. And first things first, I want to do a little bit of scheduling. So, um, I've been working with Gary Reddick, who you folks have now met several times, to talk about the real estate development master plan. Right now, what he's doing is if you recall, he said it's the gathering of everything phase. So he's been getting all of the efforts that are on your website. Carla, I think he's going to poke you this week to make sure he's not missing the scopes of work for things that are ongoing right now. And basically, what he wants to do is essentially a two-step process. He's creating what would be the scope of work for a real estate development master plan if you had done nothing. Okay, like City of Boardman, if you had done nothing. But of course, you're doing a million things. So then he will essentially create a second document that says, here's everything that's in process. How do we take the things that are in process and put those in to what we would have normally done if we were doing a big scope of work? And the reason is because we're trying to be very, very sensitive about not replicating and duplicating work, which is really, really important. You don't want to waste money doing things that you've done before or that are on a schedule that is predictable and manageable. And then we want to start to actually look at our deep dive areas of focus. And that is to actually have all of you start that process in a room with Gary as an architect and almost certainly planning staff and some other staff and do a first, like basically a project kickoff. It can be informal, but it'll be structured. And we would like to do that in person. We would have a virtual option for folks that cannot join in person, but we'd like to try to schedule that in person. And we'd like to target that first week of January, basically that 8, 9, or sorry, that's not the right dates, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Um, and so we wanted to spend the first bit of today seeing if that's possible. I sent in my email to you all this morning some options. And so I want to talk about that and see if folks have some preferences or, you know, non-negotiable. I'm just out those days. Quick pause. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? Does everybody understand the intention here? It's to formally launch this process the first week of January and get some very, very direct hands-on time with all of you. Questions? Okay, no questions. You guys are always on top of it. So,
I guess the question is, how long? How long did you say this was going to be? An
this will
hour?
probably be a 90-minute thing.
Okay.
If we can bump it down to 75 minutes, we will, but I like to be safe and schedule for 90 minutes. I think if we go any longer than 90 minutes, that's too intrusive to your day, and you start zoning out, if we're being honest. If we did it over the lunch hour, we would provide lunch. Okay. So here's where we're
I I have to say I can't do it on the 6th at all.
okay.
And I can't do it on the 9th at all.
All right. 6, 7, 8, 9. Brenda, no, on the 6th. 9th, no, on
And
the
I
9th.
think that that whole week, the 6th, 7th, and 8th, there's a big CRES meeting, which is a 3-hour event, and there's a number of us in that meeting.
Is
And
that when does
so
that happen?
it's in a doodle poll right at the moment.
Okay, gotcha.
So
So,
it's unclear when it will happen.
uh-huh. So it's a thing to schedule around. Um,
Right. But 3 hours would cut it. It starts at either 9 or at 1. So these none of those times would escape it.
right. It's also conceivable that we could do 10, 11, the 12th, which is the following Monday. The
That's the legislative so I can't do it on the 12th either. I'm
okay,
doing a petition to the legislators for early
got it.
childhood.
All right, Brenda, thank you.
I'm
You're
out.
well,
Sorry.
we'll see if we can do it.
Okay.
Let's
The
go
other
next.
the other issues, the sixth is going to be our is also going to be city council, and the seventh is when we do staff meeting and department head meetings.
What and city council is always at night, correct?
Yeah, but we have a bunch of stuff we have to do during the day to get prepped for that. So that, I mean, potentially, I'm not saying
Okay,
it can't. Just those are a couple of things to think about.
I'll write that down. Staff meeting. Okay, Junior, while you're chatting, how's the 8th look for you?
I think the eighth is doable for me.
Okay, and Brenda, it looks like that's possible for you, potentially.
It is. Yeah.
Okay, Michael, since I can see your face, you're next.
The 8th, has to be let's see. Yeah, I can do 10 a.m. or yeah, 10 a.m. or 12 p.m. on the 8th.
All right, thank you. While we're talking 8th, Bobby, do you have the ability while you're stocking stuff or shopping
Mm,
to know if you're available on the 8th?
yeah, it seems fine as of today.
Okay, Karen, Karen, can you unmute yourself potentially?
Hey, I think I did.
You did.
Okay. The 8th, I can't do at 8 a.m., but 10 or noon.
Okay,
Prefer not to eat when we have a meeting.
understood. Ricardo, hello.
Hello,
Any
sorry I'm late. I can do the 8th, preferably 12.
okay, prefers 12. Carla, Mystery Carla, are you available on the 8th?
On the 8th.
Preferably at noon.
Yeah, I've got something tagged for that time, but it's a reminder. It's not an event.
Okay.
So, yeah, but
Team?
the question I would ask is, do you specifically need me there? I mean, again, I'm just kind of trying to get a sense of where you're at with this project. That's why I'm tuning in today. So,
Oh, no problem. Carla, we're going to need to talk to you like 10 times before the 8th.
right, right. I get that, relative to everything that's going on. If you need me on the 8th, I'm happy to participate. But again, I'm supposed to be on the sideline for this process. So
Yeah, understood. So let's just say, could you please tentatively put it into your calendar?
I
Um,
certainly can.
and at bare minimum, Gary and I are absolutely going to be in town that day. We would want some one-on-one time with you if we could have that as well.
I will just block out a couple of hours before and after,
Thank you, Carla. I
just for
appreciate
you and Gary, Nathan.
it. Thanks.
Are
Thanks.
we still meeting then on the 20th also?
Yeah, but that'll be digital and it'll be short. Yeah. This is just because this is a big deal. We want to do it right. We want to do it in person. We want, and again, if you can't meet in person that day, that's okay. We will have a Zoom option. We'll do it in the conference room with lots of ability to have Zoom. But we figured let's get everybody in one place. Um, Great, congratulations. We already completed agenda item 1. That was super efficient. Brenda, you as a forcing function helped us narrow down the times very quickly. Well done. Thank you. That was great. And Ricardo, at the very end there, hey, noon's the only one that works. Perfect. That's what we do. Okay. Second thing I wanted to cover today is, and by the way, I should note, we will send out an agenda for January 8th at noon, well in advance, with some things for you to review because we don't want you coming into that one cold. Okay? All right. Second thing, since we've last met, our consultant, Stephen Brooks, has started to meet with your city, specifically with Brandon and your finance team, and I believe is about to start meeting with your city attorneys. This is for the moderate income revolving loan fund work that this committee put $5,000 to. As a reminder, you are one of 2 cities, Coos Bay is the other one, that are going to be pilot cities for the moderate income revolving loan fund. As a reminder, $75 million were set aside by the state for this fund, which went operational in March of 2025. Since March of 2025, not a single municipality has used it. So there's good reasons why, and we've talked about some of them before. The tool has a ton of uncertainty around it. The legislation that enabled it didn't contemplate all kinds of real estate development law. So there's all kinds of problems with it. And smaller municipalities, more or less, have in unison said, we don't want this. It's too complicated and we don't have capacity to do it. Hearing that, the Missing Middle Housing Fund and Stephen Brooks said, that's dumb. We need to make this as simple as possible for smaller rural cities. Let's see if we can create a template for model ordinances, legal agreements, intergovernmental agreements. Do it once with 2 cities as guinea pigs, and then kind of go through the brain damage of how would this possibly work? And you all, in your infinite wisdom, said, we will be one of those guinea pigs. And so we have begun that process, just a heads up. And so also in January, at our January meeting, not the January 8th one, the formally scheduled one, we will do a big debrief on where we're at because we expect this process to take 2 to 3 months before we actually have like a live tool up and running. The worst part of my update is that the state has been hearing all the feedback from all of the different cities and has decided that in the short session, they're going to change the rules. So we actually have an opportunity to tell them how to change the rules by being one of the first 2 cities to actually go through this process. So that's what we're going to do. So in January, we're going to tell you some of the ways that we think this program should be changed and how we might actually use it for the first time. We'll have Stephen on that call. As a reminder, he's a tax attorney that came into this work by trying to use this tool with a private development on the coast and quickly realized how inaccessible it is. Any questions or comments on this one? Okay. All right. We're already on agenda item number 3 then. So in an effort to never have you get bored on this committee, we have been approached by another technology company, much like Urban Form was a technology company, which you're up and running already with that project, much like working with Stephen Brooks and Community Innovation Partners, that's his company, on the Moderate Income Revolving Loan Fund. We found a third way that the city of Boardman might be interested in being a pilot for the whole state. The technology that we've run across is called Annam Housing, and I'm going to show you the document in the middle that I sent out. Annam Housing is based out of Medford, so it's in the southwest corner of the state. Couldn't get much further away from Boardman. And the problem that they're trying to solve is that there are housing opportunities in your community, but they're generally not aggregated into any searchable central database. The requirements for these housing, whether it's a for sale product or an income restricted rental, it's not always all that clear. And the community-based organizations, that's the acronym they use a lot, you'll see that in a minute, CBOs, community-based organizations that generally work around housing, are really good with like whatever their specialty is. They're not always aware of like, if they serve very low income folks, they're not always aware of for sale opportunities or what it would take to buy a new house. Or they might not be all aware of all the market rate rentals in the community and how best to prepare a person looking for somewhere to live to qualify and get into those types of homes. Further, your employers have said a solid 100 times to me, our biggest challenge in hiring and retaining employees lately is where do they live? They come to get a job, and then it's not entirely clear where they're going to land, either on a temporary basis or a permanent basis. So what Annam Housing does, oh, see you, Carla. What Annam Housing does is they act as sort of the glue between all the housing opportunities and then all the people looking for housing as sort of like a clearinghouse. But they don't just keep a list and help people connect. They also then help the people looking for housing get incentives or find loans if you're going to try to buy a house, or work on their application if they're trying to qualify for some sort of income restricted housing. They do all those things in a very tech platform way. And so I want to show you, they put together a little document for you all. Yeah, is this it? Yeah.
So Nathan, do they work with the banks then too to find out who's coming in to apply? They work with the real
They do.
estate agents.
That's right.
Okay.
Because they're not focused on a certain income band, Brenda. They're focused on everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had another question too. What was it?
Go ahead.
I mean, I have an old lady brain, so I might not remember it for a minute. Go ahead.
Brenda, you're like 28 years old. Come on. All right.
Or triple that.
You're wearing a crown, for goodness sake, or you were.
I
All
took it off.
right.
It's killing me.
So plain English, it's a software program, much like Urban Form, that matches the residents with local housing aid available in the communities they live in, right? So residents, which are then members, go from I don't know where to start to complete submissions of either loan applications or rental applications with approvals coming fast, fast, fast. The people that generally like their product the most are the big employers. So Michael and Ricardo, as people that work in the private sector a lot. They're the folks that actually they piloted all this on was Lithium Motors in Medford. So that's sort of because it's like in their backyard. So Lithium Motors is trying to say, how do we get people to come to Medford? And that's one of the hottest housing markets in the entire state. And there just wasn't a really good way for the folks that are working on the factory floor all the way up to their executives to navigate the housing environment. And so they put together this software tool. So basically, they're sucking up data from the internet and from community-based organizations and from real estate listings, and they're attempting to provide value to employers, the community-based organizations that care about housing, and the cities themselves, the governments. Okay. This is kind of what I just walked you through, but you can read that yourself, right? So there's all these ways that currently exist to get people into housing. But again, if you're a community-based organization, or like you're a developer, you're generally just obsessed with your product. Yes, Brenda.
So I remembered my other question. Besides Medford, are there any other companies that or any other cities, municipalities, housing agencies that are using this program?
There are companies, yes. I don't believe they actually have cities. This is sort of a new proposal for them to sort of
Oh.
target it to cities instead of just employers. The way that they were generating revenue, for their existence so far, they've been around, I think, 3 or 4 years, is basically going to employers and saying, we can solve your employer problem. Well, it turns out that like the city of Medford cared like more than just like a single employer, right? So now they've started to say, well, what if we did this for the entire city? Because people move from job to job and they live within a city, and your family might have multiple jobs within a city, but at one residence, right? So this is sort of a pilot for them. We'll keep moving. So this is what they're proposing to do. And just so we're clear, I'm not convinced we should do this yet. I I have seen their product. I like their product. I think we have a lot of questions we should ask them, but they have come to us saying, you work all over the state. Wouldn't it be interesting if we test piloted this out at a lower cost, almost certainly. That's what I would recommend. And we see if this works on behalf of a whole city. They can't really access cities by themselves. It's very similar to urban form. They need an intermediary like us, because otherwise it's just sort of like a company knocking on a city's door. The city doesn't necessarily have a good way to deal with it, right?
Or vet the info.
So they basically introduce to stakeholders and partners, hey, here's what this thing is. We look around for like 3 or 4 or 5 guinea pig employers that said, okay, we will promote this to our employees to see if it has value. You work with the community partners who already provide housing assistance to say, where's your sticky parts? Where are you not experiencing success? And that can be realtors as well. And then we put up essentially a municipal dashboard so that your city council, this committee, can track the data in real time. Who's using it? Did it result in somebody actually finding housing? Did it result in lease ups or sales? This doesn't create any new housing, right? This is just using the housing you have more efficiently. The city, aka you, this committee, would essentially control the program design, who can use it, what your funding priorities are, because in their world, they don't know what the city of Boardman's housing priorities are. That's kind of your job, right? And then any of they keep saying the word CBO, community-based organizations, any of those organizations that would use that, those are the housing groups within, Morrow County, basically would say, okay, we will also filter our people to this tool, this platform. And then again, if nobody uses it or it's just not producing good outcomes, you shut it down, right? So because you track all the data in real time.
So Nathan, may I ask you something? So
Mhm.
if the city decides to pilot this and then Tillamook wants to be one of the employers that looks into it, does Tillamook then have to buy some kind of a subscription to use it? Or is it available to them because they're in the city?
Well, you will see down at the end what Annam's smart, and what they're saying is no employer is going to sign up for this until they know there's value. So it would be better as a pilot project if like the city or philanthropy or something launched it for a year and then tracked if it was effective or not. And then if it is effective, then the different users could pay a share of the costs. That's sort of like what we do with Urban Form, right? With Urban Form, this committee, well, it wasn't actually this committee, it was the building department. The building department paid for it for year one. And then you see if it works, if people like it. And then after that, Urban Form just charges a maintenance fee per year forever if it works. And so that's sort of the theory here is, with the housing committee and the housing fund, and who knows who else, maybe a sponsor, pay for this on like a trial year basis. And then if it works, you would go to the different community-based organizations and employers in the city itself, because you're an employer, and split the cost. But you would have to believe in it, right? You'd have to say
Mhm.
it worked or it was useful. If the
Okay.
ROI is helpful, that's what they're going
Right.
to propose at the end of this document. So, here's they just put together like these are use cases. This is basically like income, right? So if you're a senior leadership, like how do you how do you find stuff to repair your house? How do you find a house for sale? If you're middle management, how do you navigate a very, very hot real estate market? If you're a younger employee, how do you go through all the different programs that support you in accessing rent or home sales, right? And if you're like a lower income person, how do you actually access the subsidized housing that's already in your community? So they're trying to hit every income band. Um, it's a pilot. It's a support tool for your city and for all the community-based organizations. Improve efficiency and transparency. So you as a housing committee can say, oh, we actually know where all the housing is in our community and what the strings are for all of the different types of housing. And then you can start to build policy off that because you would be able to say, this is the vacancy we have. Here's who's looking for housing. Here's who's having the hardest time. Here's what income they fit into. Here's the industries they fit into. Here's where they're coming from. Basically, you'd gather all this data, right? So as a housing committee, you would have a rich data environment. What it doesn't do is it doesn't really change your zoning. It's not like a long-term contract. They say it's not a financial risk to the city. I will tell you respectfully, anytime you spend your money, it's a financial risk. Um, but they don't think it is. Um, their end game is that they sell licenses, right, to the different municipalities and groups that sign up to use it. And that's also employers. It wouldn't necessarily be the case for this pilot period. And it doesn't have to be a year either. We could do it for 6 months, whatever we recommend. What I committed to them was I would run it by you. I'll send you their website. I'm going to ask them to do a more detailed proposal that actually includes a cost because they didn't do that yet. But I said I would introduce it to you. I'm going to pause and see what you guys' first thoughts are. What do we care? Is this an interesting thing to this committee? Would it be helpful? Would it be useful? What questions do you have?
So when I was visiting in Cannon Beach this summer, I was talking to one of the residents who lives there, and they were talking about bed and breakfasts and that they have sort of a limitation on how many bed and breakfasts they can have in their town because they want residents there who are paying for taxes, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. And they didn't want so many bed and breakfasts. And they have a computerized version of housing and tracking housing and who's got housing that they're putting into bed and breakfasts instead of living in them. And the city actually monitors that. Um, and a number of the towns along the coast are using something similar. And they felt like that system was very effective. I don't know if this is something that would catch on right away and people would really use it, but I like the idea of being able to store or warehouse the information in one platform because it's very difficult for a brand new person who's never purchased a home to know how to navigate that. And the bankers have to do most of the hand holding and the real estate agents to get through that process. But at late at night after you've worked a full shift, if you could go in and do some digging around on your own, that might be helpful for sure. I think the cost is the part that has me kind of questioning.
Well, we don't even know what it is yet, but yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I can run down what's going on in Cannon Beach, Brenda, too, if that's helpful.
Pardon me, say it again.
I can go research what's going on in Cannon Beach to see if that's a good model or if it's helpful to this
Yeah.
or
Well, and it might not pertain to this. The idea was is that they could track housing, who's living in it and who's renting them.
got
And
it.
they could do that in their town to limit the number of those systems or those B&Bs that are being purchased.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it was just just a
Yeah,
way
yeah.
for me to think of it.
No worries. Thanks for leading us off. Somebody else.
Interesting. Just this morning, I had a supervisor manager candidate decline my offer based on his statement that as he tried to do research for a place to stay and couldn't find a place to stay in Boardman and or even surrounding and uh, because of the very little information and very uh, he saw the big barrier that he saw in housing that he was moving to another opportunity.
Mm,
So, once again, for me and in my world, this is very real. Having something that's really easy, that's managed well would be great. My only hesitation is, even though it affects us overall, I'm a very small part of the problem. I probably run into maybe this situation maybe twice a year, maybe three times a year. I would love to get that talent in here. I think it would be great. So my, once again, my question would be uh, how much it would be really used. I like the thought that, hey, we try it out, and if nobody uses it, then we just don't do it anymore. That's
right.
appealing to me. So, um, It would be really good to really see, get something like this up and see really how much as it is used.
Yeah, gotcha. Uh, Ricardo, Karen, Bobby, Junior.
Yeah, I was really curious what Michael had to say, just based off what he's seeing, and to hear that it's only 1 to 2 times a year that he really runs into this issue. I mean, I'm not sold. I don't truly believe that, I don't think that this would be used very frequently, especially here in small rural Boardman. I most times, like, I just help one of my clients with, their mortgage process, and regardless of how many times I would send him links or do this or that, he always just came right back to me. So, and I don't mind helping, and it's those types of things. And of course, they always go back to their realtor, whoever they're working with. So I think people would just kind of stick to those simple, hey, let me pick up the phone. I I hope this would bring some value, but I don't think it'd be big enough to make a difference.
Yeah, thank you.
So my
Yeah,
question is, sorry, my question would be, what is the avenue for access? I mean, I come to Boardman, I got a job, I'm looking for a house. How do I find how to get to this
Right.
help? I mean, is it going to be on the city website? Is it going to be how do we get this out to the people who are coming in?
I don't know the full answer, but I know some simple parts of that answer. It is functions like a website, just like Urban Form. So and it would be like on the city's website, and it would also then be on the websites of all the community-based organizations that it would serve. So like anybody, like, if you had Habitat for Humanity, or you had a housing authority, or you had the different, realtors or housing associations in Boardman, they would all have it on their website, right? So if you went to any of them, any housing provider in Boardman, it would say, here's the Boardman housing marketplace, whatever we call it, and they'd click on it and they could just use it. That's how it's intended. And then also if someone's coming through the door, like, if they have a housing voucher and they're just trying to find a way to use it, um, they would click into this system and it would tell you here's all the places and here's all the people you need to talk to and you need to call. Or if you're like a farm worker, a seasonal farm worker, wherever you would go to find your typical housing with the maybe 3 Mile Canyon or the farms, it would take you straight to there. So, Junior, you'd have it posted everywhere. Like if you really did it right, it would have to be extraordinarily easy to find, right? That's the whole point. But
So,
I don't totally know the answer.
so sometimes people who are looking for housing will click on Zillow, right? That's the word I know. And they'll try to find what's happening in Boardman on Zillow. And if this was something that would populate similarly when you do a Google search and it had something that was a really attractive for Boardman, maybe that would be but I don't know what matrix you have to be in the top search profile with Zillow
Right,
on
right,
Google. So
right.
that's a different, that's somebody else's pay scale.
Well, and the just as a because this is the first time we're talking about it, their intention's not just to be like a map with this is the housing. It's also like, okay, great. Now we're going to make it automatic for you to fill out your application, for you to connect with the right mortgage lender, for you to connect with blah, 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 right? Like they're going to help you every single step of the way until you secure housing. It's not Zillow is just like, here's where you could go. Good luck, right?
Yeah. So
So
is this going to, would this Annam, would it be competition to the current real estate brokers that are in the area?
not intended to. They're because it would still be
Okay.
forward.
Or
You
the
would still
banks?
have to work with a realtor. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And it wouldn't be in competition with the banks or lending institutions like credit unions or
We'll
anything?
need a loan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just basically triaging all those resources for a buyer or a renter. Like,
So
here's your options. Let me walk you through it.
would that include like an MLS?
I think so, but I don't know. That's a good question. I can ask.
I mean, because that's where I would go if I was looking for a house in Boardman, as I go through
Right.
MLS.
Yeah. Um, Karen or Bobby?
Do you have any, you may have already covered this. Do you have any personal experience with this program?
No,
Just
I'm okay with whatever you guys think.
okay. Thank you, Karen. Bobby, the answer is not really. I've gotten a demo. I've gotten to
Okay.
see how it works a little bit on the back end. I think we should do some more due diligence. Like, I think if you want me to look into this further, I would schedule time with their team to come talk to all of you so that we can ask questions and they can give you a demo and like that kind of stuff. Or I mean,
Yeah.
I've already written down like 5 or 6 questions that you've generated that I want to have answered. The answer is kind of no, Bobby, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm early in the process of looking into these guys. I like them. I like them so far. I think it has value, but they haven't done like a citywide pilot like this.
Yeah.
So I think it could be interesting in like if the price was right, then it would be
That was my next question is have they led anywhere with cost, give any type of ballpark with it? Because I think it
um
comes down to that. If it's fairly inexpensive to do that, that changes things. But if it's like our
yeah.
other program where it was some money, that we have to do like a cost
I
benefit
can't I mean
analysis with it, see if it's
So
something
here's
that's
a
even
good
possible.
example would be you guys allocated just under 7 grand for urban form. And so far it's a pretty great success. People really like it. People are using it. Um, so this would be a little bit more hands-on. So maybe it's a tiny bit more expensive, but like in my brain, I'm kind of targeting that like 5 to 15 range. I'd have no idea if that's appropriate, not at all. But like I think anything more than that, and you start, it starts to feel like more than a pilot, in my opinion. Remember, you have a million
Yeah.
bucks, so like 5 to 15 is not a huge number. But I also don't feel like we're in the business of committing um, big sums of money to pilots. We're in the business of committing small sums of money to pilots, right? You just did 5 grand for the Merle program. You just did like almost 7 for urban form. I think it could be justifiable to go up to as much as 15, maybe if we found value in it. After that, I start I start getting a little squirrely, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I don't think a free demo is out of hand.
True. I don't know if they want to do anything for free, but you're right. We can ask. Yeah. Yeah. Well, at the risk of starting to answer questions that I have no business answering, um, why don't I do this? Why don't I go back to them, ask all these questions, ask them to put it down in writing, send it to you in December as sort of like a next step with links of whatever they want to share. And then ask them to, if you guys still feel good about it, we can do a quick check-in on January 8th, not talk about it really, just do a quick check-in. And if everybody's sort of thumbs up or thumbs sideways, we'll have them give a presentation at the regular scheduled January meeting. I don't feel compelled to rush on this one, not really. Um, so we can do our due diligence and sort of ask more questions and see if it is of value. And I'll talk to Brandon and some more of the city staff as well and see if that's if people are curious about it. Does that sound like a good plan? Can I get a thumbs up or sideways or yeah? Okay. Okay, those were my 3 agenda items. Any questions for the good of the order or thoughts? No? Okay, well, let me leave you with this. your little committee has been working with me and my team now for I think 6 or 7 months. I think we started in I think we pretended to start in June, but we really started in July. And you've probably heard me say it before, but the core value that drives the Missing Middle Housing Fund is gratitude. And in this holiday season, I'm a Christmas celebrator. I'm really grateful for you all spending time with me every month and thinking big thoughts about how housing is going to change in your community. I think you are innovative, you are risk takers, you ask good questions, and so far, you seem really motivated to try things. And I'm really grateful for that because not every community does that. I think we've already made good progress. We've launched 3 different projects. We've completed one already, and we're on the way with a couple others. And in every case, you are a model for the rest of the state. So I just wanted to say, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I'm really grateful for you all spending your time this way. It's a lot to ask. You're all very busy, very talented people, and I'm grateful for your wisdom and your time. I think that's it.
Thanks, Nathan. Merry Christmas to
Yeah,
you.
You're very welcome.
awesome.
Okay, happy holidays, folks. I will follow up within the next week on what I learned from Anim, and we will please, if you haven't yet, lock down January 8 at noon on your calendars. I'll send a calendar file, and we will look to have if we can be in person that day, we absolutely will, and we will formally launch our master planning process. Okay?
Will that be at City Hall?
I think it would be, right? Isn't that the place with the most technology?
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably
Sounds
where
good.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks,
awesome.
everybody,
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Have a
Happy
good Christmas,
holidays.
everybody.
Merry
and Happy New
Christmas.
Year. See ya.
Yeah.